So I moved all the text to the top because I realized you couldn't see the bottom. You can't see the top either. It says, creating apps kids love. And as Warren said, I am Jason. I work with Sago Sago, and we're based in Toronto. I enjoy questions, so I'm going to see how quickly we can move through the slide part of this, so we can allow some time for that. So, a little burst mode at the beginning. I'm from Canada. It looks a lot like this. I work with these people. They're lovely people. We create apps for kids, and primarily focused on the ages around 3 years old. And cats. That explains it. Yeah. It's our user testing in action here. I don't know this cat. I have no formal background in child development, but I obviously it's of great interest given what I do. I'm a big fan of experiential learning. Demonstrated here. This is my daughter. I have actually flown on the Maria Montessori just a couple weeks ago, coming back from Amsterdam.
Did you really?
I did. Claim to fame. Check that one off my list. I once had miso soup with a sad tiger. These are my qualifications. This is on my CV. Check it out. So the first touchscreen app that I designed was SoundShaker. And we had worked for many years on interactive media on the desktop, and we had worked a little bit on mobile, and I think we had this constant feeling that this effort that a lot of people were having of translating experiences from those old media onto this new device were not working. So we did something really self-indulgent, and we carved out some time in our schedule, and we started launching apps like crazy. In 12 months, we launched 10 apps. Wow. Very small, bite-sized apps, and each one was sort of an experiment. So over the course of the next year, we launched app. In total, we had 11 of these apps under Tickle Tap, culminating in Doodlecast, which was a drawing app that records you as you draw. Captures the audio as well as the screen. And it was a lot of fun. It wasn't necessarily tremendous business, but it was a lot of fun. We learned a lot, made a bit of money, opened some interesting doors. And then I met this guy on a completely random, unplanned trip to Los Angeles. This is Bjorn Jeffrey, the CEO of Sago Sago. And we sat down over lunch and started ranting about the state of kids' interactive media, in particular touchscreen media, and then I think it got dark at some point. Like it literally was just hours of going at this from every which angle. And it was a great conversation, and we kind of continued it off and on over the next few months. And we actually decided in 2013 that we'd set up a new studio. So Sago Sago was born. It's essentially a sister studio to Tokaboka. The idea was that we will basically continue to produce what we love doing, and we would share expertise and resources. So we started out by digging into our treasure trove of Tickle Tap material and relaunching things. I have to say, it's always nice to, we always talk about the next thing and the new thing. How often do we get the chance to go back to something we've already done and make it better and better and better? So we had all this learning from these apps we had launched and play tested and seen in action and gotten feedback from, and we had this fantastic opportunity to go back and just make them better. So we started, I guess, May of last year. It seems like so long ago, but it's not. We launched Forest Flyer. We've been very busy since then, so we're now just launched, well, in the summer we launched Friends, which is our 10th app in the series, after, 18 months. And things are going well. The new experiment is playing out how we had hoped. Okay, so that's me in a nutshell. Sago in a nutshell. What I want to talk about a little bit is really sort of our design process and thinking and criteria that go into our projects. And it all kind of revolves around this, which is sitting with kids, playing things. We've sort of developed our own little ad hoc guerrilla-style playtesting scheme. So depending on where we are in the production schedule, normally it's everywhere between maybe every 2 weeks to every the longest stretch of maybe 2 months. We sit down with kids. We do it often in our studio, but we often go out to kids cafes, libraries, homes, all over the place, anywhere you can find kids. And we set up play dates. So we have one person who basically is the facilitator, the host, who takes care of all the practical needs of the kids and the parents. And then we have a couple of people who are just sitting down quietly and playing the apps. And here's very quickly a very short summary of sort of how we tackle things. The biggest thing there is the sort of the play dumb point. What I liked Warren had a video earlier showing playing an app with a kid. It was busy shapes and saying, just watching the kid, letting them struggle, letting them fiddle, and then at some point in time, it's like, well, what do you think? What do you think we should do next? Sometimes we don't actually even tell the kids that these are our apps or that we built them or we made them. We just literally sit there and be like, let's look at this thing together. It's something that you actively have to work on, and I kind of feel like we need to paint it on our wall because it's no one wants to watch a child struggle. Well, maybe somebody. Warren? No. But we all want to come to their help, right? We all want to rescue them. But there's no way you're going to find the issues and problems if you're intervening like that.
The way to think about it is it's your job to make a child struggle, but in the right way.
Yes.
It's like controlled pain. You have to know. So you don't want them to struggle with the interface. That's bad struggling. Good struggle.
Yeah, there's good struggling and bad struggling. One of the things we're actually discussing right now, maybe you guys have some ideas too, is how do we convey this message to the parents? Because we're playtesting a lot of time with very young children, frequently the parent is in the room, and lo and behold, the parent wants to step in and say, like, they want their kid to succeed, so they're the ones who are constantly intervening, and we're trying to figure out, like, should we write them a letter? Can we talk to them beforehand? Like, how can we approach this subject? The other key things here are that we do our own playtesting, we involve people from the product team in the playtesting, and we debrief immediately afterward. This is not some kind of process where somebody goes out, does this playtesting, reports back some formal document of like, here's what's going on. What we're looking for are solutions, practical, pragmatic ways that we can address and fix these problems. The only people who are going to be able to do that are the developers and designers who are building the product. And I'll let you know, like, nothing motivates a developer like a frustrated, crying child. And there's so many times when I've talked to the developer about an issue that needs to be addressed, and they're like, yeah. And then I show them the video of the issue, and they're stuck to their desk until it's fixed. It's also not uncommon that we actually go and address problems in real time during the playtesting. So the developers are literally running back and forth, making tweaks, bringing it back into the room with the next kid. And you can see what's going on. Yeah.
You said 4 to 6 kids.
Yeah.
Do you have them all in the same room? Do you always have them one kid so that they don't just end up doing what the other ones do?
Yeah. We do it one at a time. So generally what we do is we invite them to show up about half an hour apart, one at a time. It depends on the venue, but when we do it in our studio, we have that scheduled. And we always have an activity, either a craft or drawing, that they can do either before or after if they're waiting. Scott?
Jason, how many people are observing, and what does the room you're observing from look like?
This is a good question. Originally, one of the learns we had recently is we have a room that's got a lot of fun stuff in it. We have Duplo, Lego, and other stuff like that. It actually caused a bit of a problem. So right now we actually have a room, we use another meeting room. We have the lighting a bit low. And we have some, it's comfortable, it's just like a couch. We have child-sized furniture from IKEA. Yeah, does that answer your question?
How many people?
How many people, yes. As few as we can get away with. So often it's just one. Often it's one or two. And we try not to have people coming and going during the playtesting session and interrupting and all that sort of stuff. So we try, the key is to kind of keep it, there's two schools of thought. One is you can go the realistic route and like, how would this be used in situ, in the back of the car, and all of that. But when it comes to usability problems, we actually just need a very controlled, kind of quiet kind of space to do that. And we videotape. Very recently, we actually got this device called Mr. Tappy, which is a little armature that you can attach to an iPad and attach a webcam to it. You'll see some footage that I've taken with it. But it's been really handy. Mr. Tappy. I hope I get some percentage of sales from you. It's a guy from New Zealand who just came up with this. It's got to be a very niche market. But I can find it if you find me later. So you may have heard of this book, The Art of Game Design. This guy wrote. It's an excellent book, and one of the reasons it's so great is it takes this approach of lenses. It's not this recipe like you need to do X, Y, and Z. It's look at it from this angle, look at it from this angle, look at it this angle. So we've started writing our own lenses. So we have a Google Doc, and we think about what kind of questions or criteria we need to be thinking about that makes this a Sago Mini thing. And I'd encourage you to do the same. They're going to be different depending on what type of product you're working on, what kind of thing you're working on. A lot of them are also universal. So I'm going to run down just 8 of these. So the first one is interface. And we ask ourselves the question, can this be done through direct manipulation? Basically, how can we kill buttons and other sort of UI elements which have been inherited down through the ages from platform to platform? This is especially true when we're dealing with a child who has literally zero experience with these other interfaces. So when you look at a lot of our apps, a lot of the time it literally is, the finger goes where the eye is. We put a bright yellow bell on the outside of the house. And that's how you start this experience. Surprise. There's good surprises and bad surprises, right? So we want the kind of surprises that make the kid giggle, and they're delightful surprises, but are not disorienting and completely throwing them off. I'll show you. We have to try something different here. So I'm completely improvising. For some reason, it's not playing the video clips. This is Soundbox, essentially a sound toy. You can tap around and add sounds.
So we'd be hearing sounds?
We should be hearing sounds. I don't have an audio jack.
Oh, that's not direct.
Something a little unexpected. The reinforcement. This is like you get to see the guts. Okay, so the next one is relatability. And a big thing that we talk about here is, can the child kind of label the actions and objects and things that are going on the screen? Can they put a word to it? Can they vocalize it? Does it fit within the sort of vocabulary headspace of a 3 to 4 year old? And I've always had a bit of a hate on for software for very young kids that use like outer space, for example, as a theme. It's very abstract and kind of crazy. But the way we approach that is everything is a playground. So we have a Space Explorer, but we just have a picnic in Space Explorer. There's a teeter-totter in Space Explorer. There's all these very relatable kind of items. So responsiveness, this one's huge. Are you acknowledging, the inputs, doing it immediately? So this is Music Box, which is basically an app where you explore and you play with tempo. You play a song by tapping, but you don't tap a keyboard, you just tap anywhere on the screen. And depending on where you tap, you get different instrumentation. There's chords, there's other things in there. It's very layered.
How did you work that
Yeah,
out?
that surrounds it.
It's just... Okay. So a lot of this is a technical thing, like making sure that you are, part of it's design, part of it's technical, that you're immediately acknowledging, yeah, got it, you tap, you tap, you tap. And I think many of us have probably had an experience where a kid taps something and it doesn't do what they expect, and what they do is they look at their finger and they go, oh, it's broken. My finger's broken, it's not working. Or even if it's a half a second delay between the tap and some kind of response, they tap 18 more times. So the other video I have here, we're going to do an update to this app for Christmas. So, and I was playing it just the other day. The sound's going to be low on this. But this is the reality, right? So what she's asking is, she's like, can you help me do more? She's enlisting my fingers along with hers, because, she's not getting enough. But when you think of it from a technical point of view, we've certainly had a lot of experiences where you develop something and we're playing it like this, and excellent, fantastic. And then we do this, and the whole thing just explodes. You get touched, requests just queuing up and killing the whole thing. So making it performant in a way that it can deal with this is no small thing. It's bringing me to this image. This is the difference between design and user experience. I wish I could credit this, but I'm not quite sure where it came from. But essentially, we all have a particular path in mind. Our user is supposed to go A, B, C, D. Guess what? They don't. So what's really important is to try to look at as many different ways that the kids are using the things, and then harness that, tap into that. So we have what's called the MASH test when we do QA, which is literally how many people can we get around a desk mashing the iPad screen at once, just to make sure everything's okay. All right, so another question is depth. So, and the way I phrase this is sort of, how long do you interact with this app before you feel like you've seen it all, before you've done it all, and you're prone at that point to just never launch that app again? And so there's all sorts of ways you can try to tweak depth. It's a whole long topic in and of itself. But it's an important issue to think about. Performance. This goes back to responsiveness, but I'm also talking about things like load times. We invest a lot of effort into literally eliminating load times. So we have most of the stuff loading in the half a second to a second of transitions from screen to screen. There's a lot of dynamic loading and unloading of assets. because we know that for children this young, as soon as you sit there and you just say like, you know, just hold a second for the next thing. Even 3 seconds is enough for them to go to the home button. So you have to make these trade-offs. You have to decide, like, are we going to have this super high-quality animation? Are we going to have this super amazing audio? And a lot of the time, you need to figure out how to you know, find that balance. But if you're, you know, we had an Ocean Storm where we did all of the animation 24 frames a second. We had something like 6,000 frames of animation. It was lovely. It was gorgeous. But it necessitated about a 4 or 5 second spinny load screen of some kind. We chopped it down to 12 frames a second. The animator cried a little tear. But it loads like that. And the ultimate, you know, the end experience was what we did.
Good choice.
Yes, that was one of my questions.
Details. So the way it's described, are there delightfully unnecessary details? I like to be able to look at every single one of our apps and just point to a couple of things that somehow got squeezed in there. A lot of the time, not through any of my doing. Some developer somewhere along the way just kind of thought of it, snuck it in there. And it seems totally obvious in retrospect. So when we had this little activity in Friends where you water the plants, well, of course, if you hold the water over the characters, they freak out a little bit. And again, that wasn't in the game design document. That wasn't one of those things. It's self-evident. It kind of makes sense. So you've got to embrace those.
You didn't find that in kid testing that the kids wanted to do that?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm
The
gonna
kids often wanted just to water the characters.
That's what I thought.
Forget the plan. But that's cool. That's so influence. Does the interaction lead to meaningful change in the app? So one way to test this is kid testing app, playing around. Just give it a glance at any given point in their play experience. And are you looking at something which is the direct outcome of what they've done? Or does that look like the same bloody screen that would be if any kid was using that app? So it might be that they've done drawing or painting. It might be that they've just manipulated the arrangement of things. It might be that they've moved through a space. But that's just it's a really good question to ask yourself. If 3 minutes into an app experience you glance down and you're like, yeah, that's the same, the screen looked the same way for the other 18 kids. You're not giving the kids anything. You're not empowering them. Control. The question here is control unnecessarily limited or taken away during play? We all are limiting control when we design games. It happens. But we have to be able to justify every single place where we do this. And a lot of the time you'd be surprised, taking control away, it actually becomes a much better experience. So we're working on a driving game right now. And the original kind of plan was to have this car basically go on a journey, nice fluid controls, went a little overboard on how you can do that. But effectively, the car rode on a rail from beginning to end. And in one of the builds, it was broken. The car wasn't on a rail. You could actually do whatever you wanted with it. The results were positive. There's a gasp there. There's like a second where she's just like, oh, I can just fly this. She had no reaction to the fact that they're driving a bathtub. She's like, of course you're not driving a bathtub, but it can fly. It's a flying bathtub. It's really interesting what kids get into. So now we've embraced that. We've built that in, and you can fly the car around wherever you want. So to summarize, here's the 8 in one list. I think you could all look at your own products and ask yourselves a lot of these same questions. And I'm sure you could sort of twist and modify and generate your own questions that would apply. And if you're looking for a starting point, you know, start with the art of game design. If I had to pick just one of these, I would focus on control, that last point. And you know, there's control in terms of specific application in how you design your apps, but there's also a bigger kind of issue here, which is, you know, our general inability to let children control their lives and environments. I like to pull this picture up from time to time. So this is the designer behind the trip chair. It's an adjustable high chair. And one of the strokes of genius he had was he built adult furniture to scale as if you were a young child, and then his designers try to use it. It's not fun. It's an empathy building exercise when you start to realize that, you know, few things in this world are designed for kids. So this is just again a picture from one of our playtesting sessions. But I really like this one because it gives you this sense that the kid is in control, and the parent is really proud of this, kind of just sitting there and taking it all in. And I think that, you know, if nothing else, this device is unique in the amount of control it offers hands over to the child. Just this sense of ownership that they can have, you know, moving from app to app, from experience to experience, and from books to video to games. And I think that's amazing, and I think if we don't embrace that when we're designing, we are missing a huge opportunity. And with that, we conclude